Well, I don't want to introduce Gareth too much. I'll let him do it himself. But one thing I will say is that the work that Gareth does, it has showed up on lots of radars. And the best thing I could say is that a good friend of mine called Mark Williams, who everybody here is aware of Mark. If Mark says that you're a good person in the dad's world, then you can't really say much higher than that. So I will hand over to Gareth and let's talk about the work that he does. So yeah, over to you, Gareth.
Awesome. I'll take that, and I'll buy Mark that beer later on. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I'm Gareth Wall. I work in South Wales, as we're kind of international today, for Torfaen early years as a dad support worker. So I'm going to talk to you today really primarily about our program for dads by dads, but it's sort of main, but also we kind of touch on a little bit more about in terms of what we do within the authority as well. So I can't kind of say that this was my idea from the beginning. Jacob, my colleague, as you can see there, he was the one that started all of this, which was, it was a great idea. He identified that there was a gap for dads. And I think what's quite interesting really is the fact that Jacob works within sports development. So he really doesn't have that kind of social care kind of connection, but he was really able to kind of see that. So I think it's kind of a lot of kudos kind of sits on Jacob's shoulders really for starting this off. The kind of first group had 6 dads involved, and as Jacob really didn't have that kind of knowledge of kind of where to start, he was kind of bringing those key people on board to kind of create the program. So Mark Williams, we've already discussed, he was one of those people that were kind of, he was pointed towards, and Mark kind of became involved from the start. And he sort of like pushed around sort of the council, so there's other people that sort of work within sort of mental health fields and kind of pulled this kind of together. I was appointed after this program had started, so I've kind of jumped on Jacob's shoulders really and kind of joined the bandwagon. So we're kind of now doing it together. But yeah, the first group, 6 dads, it was a good start, but obviously it was something we wanted kind of more. So we're now at a stage where we've had 74 dads attend the program, run our 5th incarnation now. There's been an increase of dads kind of being referred to the program, and we're kind of seeing this big knock-on effect the dads are kind of seeing throughout really the borough in terms of the groups that are offered within Torfaen. So we're kind of seeing dads attend our swimming groups, they're attending our forest schools, and sort of the other sessions that we're running specifically for dads. The knock-on effect in terms of like professionals, we're also seeing this kind of increase in dads being in mind now. So more people are kind of aware of what we do, more people are talking to us, and more people are starting to kind of think about, kind of how dads are engaged. So dads are kind of now saying to us that they're kind of feeling supported, they're kind of having their needs met, they're kind of having this space where they can talk. They are telling us that they're having conversations in the room when we deliver this program that they are not having with their best friends. And I think that kind of says a huge amount really as to kind of what we've created. And then in terms of kind of happenstance, we ended up being on BBC Wales News on Father's Day last year. And we kind of had a video of the program. We're also on the BBC Nails website as well. So, we've kind of come a long way in 2 years. So it's been really, really great. So the For Dads by Dads program is really central to everything that we offer within the borough. The kind of other groups that we've got now, we said my role is as a dad support worker. So I offer one-to-one support to any dads that kind of maybe enter the program and they may be struggling. They say go the swimming, forest schools, groups that run. Circle of security is the other kind of main part of the program. we have it runs sort of on a termly sort of basis. So we know that within an academic year, we can fit in 2 For Dads by Dads programs and 2 circular security programs. And for those that don't know, circular security is an attachment-based parenting program. So we're kind of getting the dads in there and getting them to sort of reflect on how they meet their sort of baby's needs, and doing that sort of like intervention work at a very early stage. So hopefully, we don't kind of see these dads kind of further down the line. But then we've got Daytime Dads and Dad and Me. Those are run in conjunction with Torfaen Play Service. So the Daytime Dads is a Monday morning session, and Dad and Me is a Saturday morning session. Really well attended, and we're now at a point where we're kind of exploring, trying to find a bigger space, because we get so many dads going there, and most of those dads are ones that are attended For Dads by Dads. The library has kind of seen some of the success now that we've been having, and they've kind of started doing around time. So it's this ripple effect really that we're having, because dads are being seen more across the borough, and more people are like talking about it. In terms of the content, like there's a huge amount in terms of what we do every single week. The introduction session is kind of really important. We've changed that since last time. We have feedback after every single session. There is a link that goes out to the dads in our WhatsApp group, and kind of some of the feedback we had from the last one was that dads kind of felt that they didn't get to move around enough. They wanted to kind of move a little bit more. They also felt that they were kind of being talked to. So we kind of changed it around, and this kind of time that we ran it, we had some really good feedback. Nobody sat down for the session. It was about trying to identify what it was that they all had in common. They were all anxious about getting there, kind of standing them in a room, kind of go one end of the room if you were feeling anxious, or the other room if you weren't, and trying to find as many similarities between the dads as possible. Trying to find out, when they're talking in the WhatsApp group, what was it that they had in common? So, the fact that some of them were collecting Pokemon cards, some of them are interested in bikes, some are interested in walking into the gym, the football teams that they supported. It's a really kind of good way to kind of get the dads like chatting. And then we did another session. Within that session, we did another activity, and that was around trying to get the dads to talk to each other, make sure they spoke to every single person that was in that space. And the dads kind of described it in the feedback as like speed dating, which was quite funny. Mark Williams, he does the second session always. As you know, Mark's brilliant. Really kind of puts the dads at ease. Him talking about his own lived experience of his own kind of experiences with suicide and postnatal depression are really hard hitting for the dads, but also it kind of adds to what we're trying to do. The fact that there's this kind of safe space, and the fact that Mark talks about it enables the dads to open up. And from, we're kind of getting in the really early stages of the program, dads feeling comfortable with sharing difficult experiences. When Mark did this session the other week, we had the dads talking about baby loss, talking about their kind of journeys to, become a father, and some issues in terms of infertility, issues with kind of social services being involved. So it's a really kind of hard hitting session really, but dads have felt very comfortable in kind of sharing those, really vulnerable kind of emotions and thoughts around kind of what's going on for them as a dad. We have Charlie, who is a clinical psychologist, who comes in and he talks about what kind of dad they want to be. He uses this ACT model, acceptance and commitment therapy model, to try and get dads to identify what they're doing that kind of takes them towards the dad that they want to be, and takes them away from the dad that they want to be. And that's kind of gives dads a really kind of simple model that they can kind of apply to all their behaviors and all the sort of things that they're doing. And Charlie's really good at helping them sort of reflect on what's going on for them at that particular time. Then we have, we talk about bonding, skin to skin, supporting play, obviously kind of health visitor coming along. And that's a really kind of recently new thing, having a health visitor, and maybe something we could have identified previously. But in terms of the feedback from the dads, they were asking for kind of more information. So we kind of brought in a health visitor, all very good. The feedback we had when we did that, because the health visitor was a manager, was that they needed someone who was practicing, because you didn't have that kind of first-hand knowledge. So we again changed that and been able to bring somebody else in. So we're constantly evolving these, no program has been exactly the same so far. It's all been kind of different, because we've learned things each time and trying to amend it and trying to work out kind of what's going to be beneficial for the dads. As I said, first aid, really kind of important session, always really well attended. Dads want to kind of feel confident in terms of, if something goes wrong, that they'll know what they can do. And we have an introduction session to circular security. I try and think of it maybe as kind of sales, because I want lots of them to kind of come and attend the program as well. Got the physical health. We have a really good partnership with Torfaen Leisure Trust. They give us kind of access to the gym, and they give all the dads a free gym membership for a month. And then after that, they've got 5 months at reduced price. So our session always takes place at Pontypool Leisure Centre. So they're already getting over that barrier. They're already in the building where the gym is. So that really kind of helps in kind of helping them to maybe kind of feel more comfortable about being in that space. And then we kind of do the gym session, and we're really lucky that we got Shane, who's kind of got his own business locally. He's a kind of former fitness trainer with Munster Rugby Club, and he comes in and kind of supports a dad in feeling confident with lifting and doing kind of simple gym exercises, and talks to them about some of the kind of changes they can make in terms of benefiting their physical health. And he's a dad himself. He's got young children, so he's able to kind of relate that to his own sort of experiences. We've got Aled, who comes in, talks about nutrition, getting the dads to kind of think and explore what it is that they're eating. Again, it's also a dad, so everything that's kind of this whole thing about for dads by dads, we're trying to kind of keep this at the core of it. So he's able to kind of talk about, his own children, talk about how he is relating nutrition, and how he's kind of like doing that with his own kids and the meals that he's cooking. He's really kind of active session. He's getting dads to think about how many grams of fat, creating these competitions between the dads in the group. It's a really fun session. And then we've got smoking. We've had a couple of dads who've given up smoking completely since they've attended the program, which has been a great success. Not finding that so many people are smoking now, with more people vaping, which is something we kind of need to think about, because it doesn't, NHS smoking doesn't cover the vaping at this moment in time. So we are kind of like trying to support dads within that, but looking for something else that we can kind of help them with. And then we've got Meg, who is a natural midwife, who's also a yoga instructor. She comes in and does a session with the dads, talks about mindfulness. So this sort of theme of sort of mental health is really kind of running right through the program, as is the weekly walk. At the very beginning of every single session, there is a walk. It's 50 minutes. The leisure centre is based within the local park. You just walk around the park for that time. The key kind of thing that is what we kind of say to dads is always ask twice, how are you? How are you again? Just to make sure that, people are kind of having good conversations as they go around. We know that kind of parallel process, being side by side, is not as intimidating as being kind of stood opposite someone and talking to them. So the feedback we get from that is those kind of conversations are really important to dads, and they are kind of talking about, what's going on in their lives, how their week has been, and other kind of concerns that they've got, as well as just, did they watch the football, and those things, which are really important, obviously, for, building relationships as well. So on top of the physical health, we're looking at sort of mental health. Obviously, it's all connected. We've got Cherie, and she's the former I can't think of her job title now, unfortunately, but she was in charge of Mind within Torfaen and Blaenau Gwent. So she's very experienced. She comes in about and talks about suicide awareness, mental health, and brings along Adam from Marauders, which is a walking group, and kind of talks about kind of what they do. Adam is also someone who really kind of struggles with his mental health. So he talks about the strategies that he uses, and the offer is there for dads if they want to kind of participate in the walking group to kind of join in with that. And then we have Tidy Butt, and they've not attended all of our sessions, but we've kind of realised that they're really important, and they're a local kind of charity, and they are really kind of unique within this. The two dads that are former rugby players. One of them is Rhys Thomas, who used to play for Wales, originally from South Africa, and they come in and talk about their kind of experiences of their mental health. They're really open in terms of their struggles. The fact that Rhys has got pictures in his slideshow that shows him playing for Wales gives it a huge amount of kind of gravitas, which has been really impactful then for the dads. And he talks about like his own struggles and the journey that he's on now. They're both kind of qualified breath coaches and cold water swimming coaches. So they talk about that. They kind of give the dads sort of support and tips in terms of like how they can use kind of breath work to manage their kind of anxiety and their mental health as well. So I can talk about Torfaen Leisure Trust, but also we've got relationships with the Gwent Dragons in Newport County. So Gwent Dragons are the local professional rugby side. They give us access to free tickets, as do Newport County. So we've arranged dates with the dads where they can kind of go and attend a game for free. It's another kind of social occasion where the dads can kind of catch up with each other and, have a beer and just catch up. And we've also got the WhatsApp group. But the WhatsApp group is really kind of central to the whole sort of program. It just sort of started off as a bit of an add-on originally, but now it's become something that's really kind of a big part. We use the WhatsApp group at the very beginning of the program. In the first week on the Monday, I always get everyone who was signed up to the program to start in the WhatsApp group at exactly the same time. And this is kind of really key. Myself and Jacob put in introductory videos, kind of talking to everyone, explaining who we are, telling a little bit about us, the fact, what we like doing, the fact I've got a dog, the fact that I support Liverpool, try and create these sort of things where people can hook onto them and start a conversation. Give the dads a little bit of feedback in terms of how they can introduce themselves and what sort of stuff they can include. And that really starts the ball rolling and starts the kind of group connecting. And I think it helps the dads to feel more comfortable before they've even walked through the door. So kind of the WhatsApp group then kind of continues even after the whole program is finished. So there's still that space where they can kind of talk to each other and they can kind of like share about what's going on in their life. So how do they enter the program? Mostly it's self-referrals. Most dads are kind of prompted by their partners to sign up. We know that kind of mums really are the gateway to get dads kind of involved at this early stage, and that's kind of what dads are telling us, that mostly is kind of mums that are seeing this. Mostly it's because mums are following these pages kind of on social media, which I'll kind of show you a little bit later. But we're also getting kind of the referrals through from health visitors, the PIMS team, and we've had now some from social services kind of as the kind of program has become more well known within the authority. We kind of get a few there where we're able to kind of support dads as well. When we kind of look at the kind of type of dads that are on the program, because mostly they're self-referrals, some people might go, these dads are doing okay, kind of on the outside. Most of these dads have got quite decent jobs. They've got mortgages, in terms of sort of some of the other dads within the authority, you might kind of think they're not struggling quite so much. But the reality is most of these dads have kind of got their own struggles. They're talking about their mental health. They're talking about maybe some of them that, had thoughts of suicide. They've had baby loss themselves. They're struggling with, being infertility. They've kind of gone through IVF. There are lots of things that are kind of coming out which these dads are talking about that they need support for. But initially you might think they're doing okay. So I think something to learn from that is don't kind of look at all dads, on the surface level, and maybe need to look a little bit deeper. So the kind of key principles really of the whole program is about having a safe space. That very first session is around creating that safe space, trying to show each of the dads, look, you're the same. Everyone's kind of struggling. Nobody's got a clue what they're doing when it comes to being a dad. We're all learning on the job. We're trying to kind of make it really kind of obvious that, this is a struggle for everyone. Trying to kind of challenge that idea of perfection, that kind of social media idea of perfection, and trying to kind of make sure that dads will talk. And we know that that works because dads are kind of sharing these really kind of vulnerable sides to themselves. We are a holistic approach to fatherhood. You can see from the content, it isn't about changing nappies, it is about doing bottles. We're not trying to replace antenatal. We want dads to attend antenatal and to come to us. Antenatal is a very kind of specific kind of program. It's something that they can do with their partner, so it is really important. But kind of this program is really just for dads. So that kind of holistic approach to fatherhood is we're kind of seeing, as much as we sort of market, I suppose, ourselves at kind of new and expecting dads, we are seeing that some dads now are kind of coming in that have got kids a little bit older and also want support. But because we have this kind of holistic approach, most of the sessions are really relevant to them as dads as well. So we're really not excluding anyone at all. Relationships are kind of really important. We want the dads to kind of become friends. We want them to kind of make those relationships with each other. We kind of want to kind of create the community. We want it to continue after the whole program is finished. So we're just the start, really. And we're sort of the catalyst for them to kind of have those connections and, have those relationships where they can talk to other people then outside of the group. And we're seeing that, we're experiencing that. We're kind of, dads are sending in photos of when they've had meetups, they've gone to the pub, they've gone to the gym together, they're walking up in the Brecon Beacons, they're going for coffee, going for walks along the canal. So it's been really nice to kind of see how much the community around dads has really grown. We really want kind of dads to be seen. Sort of my perspective is I want to think of the bigger picture. So it's not just about my kind of role day to day. I actually want to kind of challenge maybe some of the practices within the authority and actually trying to see how we can think of dads being kind of thought about in a much kind of bigger way. And also obviously dads have to feel valued. That's really what we want. And the feedback that we get from dads in terms of the program has been phenomenal, and it kind of really validates really what we're doing. So we're really kind of lucky to have that as well. Dads are telling us that in terms of signing up, they kind of want friendships. They want to kind of get to know other people. They're struggling maybe with their mental, their physical health. They want to kind of be better dads for their own kids. They want to be able to make sure that they can be a good dad. They want to know what they're doing. They're kind of maybe worried about kind of being a dad. Some of these dads have spoken about how they haven't had great experiences of their own kind of father and their own sort of parenting, so they're really not sure what they should be doing. So they're kind of looking for some guidance really from us, and that's where we can come in and certainly pointing those dads towards the circular security program is really key to be able to meet those needs. And sort of like bonding has been kind of quite a big theme as well. Sort of dads really struggling, and we know that obviously dads that struggle with their mental health really kind of struggle around this. So giving sort of some one-to-one support outside of the session and talking about that has been really useful for some of those dads. So how have we kind of gone about getting these dads in? Like, that's kind of a snapshot really of Torfaen Early Years Facebook page. We've got less than 5% of dads are following or say dads as males are following the page. So it's a really kind of small percentage of our followers. So we've needed to be able to kind of get to mums and get sort of dads involved as kind of part of the gateway. So in terms of kind of dads being seen, we're really kind of trying to challenge that and trying to kind of show dads on social media as much as possible. I kind of show the next slide, in terms of what we're trying to do. We've got posters and flyers. We're kind of trying to think about where the dads hang out. We're trying to go for the non-obvious places. We're sharing our posts in all the local groups on Facebook every single time. I kind of think sometimes maybe my friends and family get a bit fed up of my posts, but in terms of trying to boost the algorithm, it's really important to kind of do that, and asking kind of friends and family to maybe do the same as well. So, and that's really helped kind of push some of our cases forward. We're using case studies, being able to look at the stories of dads, being able to kind of look at those good news kind of stories, how dads have maybe really struggled before attending the program, what the program has done for them, and also trying then to use that to encourage other dads to come along. So using the sort of relationships then, who works with dads, who are those kind of professionals that we can kind of talk to that maybe we can bring in, trying to attend some of those team meetings with those kind of key people, being able to sort of like, attend team meetings with the Midwives Health Visitors PIMS team. Of course, there's relationships with the play service and obviously sports development as well. And our comms team has been brilliant, really, really supportive in trying to kind of push what we're doing. So that's been a really kind of beneficial thing, being part of the local authority. There's kind of such a big reach within the authority to be able for people to kind of see information about the program. And then we've been able to kind of use those press releases then, and they've been in the local press. So we've got the Argus Free Press kind of locally, Cumbrian Life, which has really kind of had a big impact on kind of where dads have been seen as well. So this is sort of one of our posts. This was the last post after the dads finished the Circular Security program the other week. As you can see, kind of from only having 5% people really who were males, we're having a reach of nearly 11,500. So, these posts are by far really the most popular on our social media pages on the early years, which has been really nice to kind of have that. And then in terms of kind of what we're doing with Torfaen, you can kind of see how having so many people following Torfaen Council and being able to look at what they're sharing as well has been made a big difference. So 120,000 people have seen posts regarding dads, and that's just the council. But it's the early years too, where I don't have that information today. So in terms of how we kind of nurture dads, I sort of, in terms of my background, I'm really sort of keen to make this as trauma informed as possible. So we're kind of looking how, what are all those touch points really once dads sign up. So they fill out a form, there's information on there in terms of their telephone number, email address, and kind of why they signed up. Jacob always sends them an email, welcome them to the program, sends information in terms of, some of the video that we did with the NHS, video with BBC, as an example, and some of the news articles as well, just to kind of show a little bit about what the program entails. Once I get that email off Jacob, every single dad that signs up to the program gets a phone call from me. I'll speak to those dads. I make note of why they signed up, try and talk to them, learn a little bit about them. Are they an expecting dad? Have they had the baby already? How are things going? Asking them how their sleep is, is that kind of way to, sort of identify really how their mental health is at the moment. And I kind of make notes in terms of like what it is that they've kind of told me to personalize my responses and stuff to those guys, names of kind of kids, names of partners, things like that. It's kind of really helpful in dads feeling that they're being thought of. And then, as I said, we've got the WhatsApp group then, which is really kind of central. As soon as we kind of get the dads in there, it's kind of on that sort of Monday morning, using that. Apologies, my dog in the background. And so using the WhatsApp group then to be able to get the dads to connect with each other, trying to find out what have they got in common. It's been really, really good. It's never been abused, because I'm really keen at the beginning to tell them it's connected to my work's laptop, and I didn't want any kind of funny things on there which would be inappropriate. But it's been fantastic. So kind of 5 groups without any problems has been really, really good. But we're very much trying to kind of work with the dads on that individual basis. How are they kind of feeling about coming into the group? Do we need to meet them outside and support them to come in? Maybe they're feeling a little bit anxious. In terms of the WhatsApp group, we always put a video in there of the room that we're in and how they walk into that space, and show them exactly how to get there. So we're trying to kind of reduce all those barriers all the time and make it really easy for them to walk in that room on that Thursday night. When they're sort of saying, "Oh, I've got a pet. Oh, well, maybe you can go on a dog walk with John because he's got a dog as well." And trying to kind of help them feel really comfortable. And then obviously once we're in that kind of group space, it is really trying to explore with the dads what it is they've got in common. Trying to show that they're all kind of maybe feel a little bit anxious about walking into that room on that first night. They're all kind of at that same sort of pace. In terms of really how this sort of fits in with kind of Welsh government, Parenting in Wales guidance and support really is only 6 years old, which is 7 years old now, sorry. So there is definitely this kind of idea of the deficit dad. I'm lucky I'm kind of been on the task and finish group now, looking at trying to be able to rewrite this, because dads are really not thought about enough. So we're kind of looking at this about how dads can be supported, trying to look at kind of the culture really around dads, and hopefully kind of once this comes out, which is the plan is for it to be out next year, we might be able to see changes sort of in practices within local authority, and hopefully kind of dad's work is being embedded really, and kind of authorities seeing the need for that. We're certainly seeing an uptick in the number of people that are appointed for dads. There is a kind of core of us sort of working within mostly South Wales, but we definitely kind of need more. Mostly kind of within this document, dad's kind of seen as being the problem, kind of alluding to sort of domestic abuse being at the core, but not dad being seen as the solution, and how dad can really kind of support families and support his children, and look at the benefits of dad kind of being there to, help his child to be the best that they can be as well. So, diolch, thank you very much for, sort of listening to me. It's really lucky to be working on this program. I keep saying to people, it's probably the best job I've ever had. Kind of really kind of passionate, and get so much back from the dads that I work with as well. So, it's a really good kind of really good role, and it's a great program to work with. There we go.